ready.
And tonight we are doing The Holdovers, Alexander Payne's new film, The Holdovers. Ever see Alexander Payne movies before, Mama Kay? Ever?
I have seen Alexander Payne movies before.
What's your favorite one?
My favorite one? I think I've only seen two besides this. Sideways, which is super old, but I really enjoyed it.
Super old in jest terms, so 2004.
It's 20 years old, right?
Yeah, 19. I mean, I wouldn't call that super old, but yeah, sure. Oh, super old, 20 years.
Well, it's at the other end. I mean, when you're talking about directors, it's at a different phase, like, you know what I mean?
No, yeah, not an up-and-comer. Yeah, sorry. Director of Sideways, About Schmidt, Election, Citizen Ruth. Those are the big ones. Downsizing is his most recent.
Descendants. Those are the two that I like. Okay. Yeah, nobody liked Descendants. So.
I've never seen Descendants, so I mean, I can't even give it a fair shake. Is that a George Clooney film?
Yeah, but it takes place in Hawaii. That's a win.
Oh, well, we just had the George Clooney in Hawaii discussion. It's a cousin of the Adam Sandler in Europe conversation. So
kind of, but an Alexander Payne movie is very different than a murder mystery. So
yeah, it is very different magnitudes. And this one is about a curmudgeonly instructor at a New England prep school remains on campus during Christmas break to babysit a handful of students with nowhere to go. He soon forms an unlikely bond with a brainy but damaged troublemaker and with the school's head cook, a woman who had just lost a son in the Vietnam War. This has a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, 92 with the audience, 8.4 on IMDb. So that's a good sign when they're all that high, even IMDb. That makes me very excited. I saw the trailer for this and it looked like just old in the best kind of way.
It did look old.
It looked like literally like, did they dust this out of a vault from like 1983? Like this was supposed to come out like around the time it's like The Big Chill. Like it looks so old. Like even the aspect ratio.
It's like literally 15 years before The Big Chill.
It looks Big Chill's in the 80s, I think.
It is.
Point being, like this looks super old. This looks like older than even his own contemporary works. But like it had it gave me like a warm they don't make them like this anymore kind of feeling, like old, like that first warm old man feeling that was the trailer for this gave me that.
Yeah. I say it's a little bit. It looks a little morose, like just a little like I don't know. I wanted to compare it to oh my gosh, the Robin Williams movie where he's the I lost it.
With the Robin Williams movie.
The Robin Williams movie where he's the teacher and so Captain, my Captain.
Dead Poets Society. Yeah.
Dead Poets Society.
I hate that movie.
It has the same like time feely to it.
Yes,
and
actually,
because it's at a school, it's got that same.
Yeah, time wise, that's what I meant by old. Is like that's actually a perfect feeling of age, but like the tone of the movie is completely different, and I definitely prefer one to the other. If you haven't seen The Holdovers, those are all the things about it. It's in the theaters, and we are going to spoil it here now. So Paul Hunnam, that is our classics teacher at Barton Academy, boarding school in New England. It's, 1970? So there's your time period. Mm-hmm. And he is uptight, he's strict, he's curmudgeonly, he's got a wandering eye. And he's been tasked with taking care of the holdover children at the boarding school, the ones who are left behind. They don't have anywhere to go on Christmas. They don't have a home to go back to. It's an exchange student, a couple rich kids who have parents gallivanting, just various couple of kids left behind for the holidays. And so we're gonna follow this group and this guy for the first little bit, because then it will narrow down to one character, Angus Tully. And we'll learn about his background. He's a troubled youth, and they also have the character of our she's a cook, but she's like a head staff something or another. She's in charge of the Barton cafeteria. That's Mary. That's Divine Joy Randolph's character, and she's the one who has recently lost a son. So It's a band of misfits talking over their troubles in the snowy New England winter, and some cute scenes and dialogue and clever little romping going on. So, what did you think of the Holdovers, Mama Kay?
First of all, I had a really hard time remembering the name of this movie. Like, I kept wanting to call it like the Foldovers.
The Foldovers? The Terry Folds?
Yes, you got to grab them by them.
You got to grab the Terry Fold Holdovers. No. Oh, man.
Yeah, I just had a hard time remembering it. So every time I wanted to look up information on it, I had to keep looking up Paul Giamatti. So I'm pretty sure that my phone thinks that I have like some really crazy, weird obsession with Paul Giamatti, which I do not.
You play that game where you have to like show your last 10 searches and it's all Paul Giamatti related, and it's very hard to explain.
It's literally just him on IMDb, but over and over and over again. And then me going back and going, oh, I did like Sideways. Sideways is fun, and I'm like, yeah, so that kind of thing. And just looking to make sure I didn't miss another Alexander Payne movie that I've seen. I don't think I did. I think it's just, this is the third one. And yeah, so I was interested in seeing this movie because it does look like, a talky movie that has a point to it, and not anything, there's nothing in it that's aggressive as far as like, I'm not going to see any explosions. I don't think there were any explosions.
Explosions?
Yeah. No explosions.
No, there's some injuries. There's some stunts, but
there are some stunts. And I kind of disagree with saying that the boy Tully was a misfit. I don't think he's a misfit. I think he's just left behind by his mom, who has a new husband, and she prefers her husband and new child over him, which is pretty common.
Pretty common.
So,
oh, jeez.
I think it's common. I think I don't know if it's as common now, but I think back then, women.
Maybe actually, good point. I forget this is like 50 years ago, and kids were like,
right.
They weren't quite like people yet. They were like, oh, it's just
no,
like this
they weren't
thing
autonomous at all.
Yeah, it's like a just above a dog. You're like, oh man, we got this thing. I got the from the old relationship. Where am I gonna put them? And they're like, I'll just put them in the kennel. So, Martin Academy.
Yeah. And she also, I don't know how wealthy he was, but the second one, she definitely, married some money. So she's good to go, and she's going to stick with that.
Yeah, those are her priorities, as we learn. It sounds like the father at a time, at least the kid liked, but not.
Yeah, we don't really, we see him in this movie. I don't know that we really find out what exactly happened to him, like why, except for we do find out that seems like everybody in this movie has something in common, mentally, and it hit the mark for me. I wasn't expecting, anything more or anything less. I was kind of charmed by the fact that it felt 70s. I almost wish it had a really bad soundtrack so you could hear like sort of kind of music in the background, like just bad music. It was funny in the beginning when it looked like an old movie where they set up the like the MPAA rating and stuff all at the beginning of the movie. And it was like, this is super old school with that. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm interested. I'm there.
You sound upper medium. That sounds okay. I like this a lot. It was really good. It got stronger as it went, which I prefer to the other way around. I think in general movies that do that are actually better if you go back and like realize what was going on, whereas the ones that start strong and kind of don't know how to finish, or maybe just kind of sloppy. No, this is like the first third is okay. It does take me a bit to like get on with the boys at all. Once it's just one boy, much easier. But I wasn't even sure. I saw the trailers, but I didn't pay close attention to like I went a little bit face blindness, and it was like, young white kid. That's a lot of them. I'll figure it out.
I'm not sure which one it is.
Yeah, I know who Paul Giamatti is. The cook obviously stands out, and then I will figure out the rest when I get there. And that's what I did. I Paul Giamatti from the get go on board with his performance. he has to be like he's a Paul Giamatti type, but he is a character specific. Like this guy has mannerisms and he has like little stances that he does, and like the way he like kind of huffs his chest out backwards and he has a little forward lean thing. His long little talks are, you know, I've seen Giamatti characters do this, but he's putting work in. I like this character, and I like the other two characters as well. And so as we get to just the three of them, and it's more, you know, long scenes of like the champagne of beers, 8 minutes of stuff. That is
so much.
I love it. It's perfect. That's when the movie has found its rhythm. The party. There's three different characters go off and do their little side quests, and then meet back up in the kitchen at the end to stumble drunkly out. Like, it's just a nice. I like the setup once we're with our characters and they're coming of their various ages and problems. So stronger as it goes, and by the end, what's the most important thing in a dramedy? I gotta get the tears. Where's the tears? And I was getting very close to the end. It was getting close, and I was like, it's very enjoyable, but I have not felt the emotions yet. But the handshake, it's very firm.
The handshake did it.
It's a very firm handshake, and it was firm enough to jostle a few tears loose from the ducks. So passed the test at the end. I enjoyed the Holdovers.
It was a little bit obvious, I thought, what the end was going to be. I mean, after we started our adventures with the people, I felt like it was. Felt like this is really the only way it could end, because we can't have them going back to where we started.
But we have to have the reveals / surprises, or like the learning. We have to learn why Paul Giamatti's character is so angry at the world, and why our lonely guy, like we get a subversion of expectations on his dad, because I don't know if you expected him to be in the institution. If we're in spoilers, like he's not. Yeah. He's talked about like he's dead, but he's not dead. He's right. The cheese has slipped off the cracker, and he's in an institution. And back then we didn't know. Maybe modern medicine could give him something, but back then it sounds like the mom was like, "Oh, he's not going to be able to fund our life anymore. Time to put him in a place and find a new person to fund my life," and put the dog in the kennel,
I would just like to know, like, what happened? Like, why was he there? What was it truly that he was just because the illness that they all share is that they're in various forms of depression. Clinical for the two male characters, and probably situational for Mary, who just lost her son. First of all, we have to talk about class in this situation. So she just lost her son, who was only 20 years old, and he died in the Vietnam War. And now she's been at this school with all of these rich boys for all of this time. Those kids are never going to the Vietnam War. Like, how she goes back there daily, I have no idea. That's a testament to, that character, and just, I don't know. She's got.
I see. If you wanted the cheesy music,
balls.
They could have cut to Mary chugging booze after her son passed away, and then they go bow now, bow now, bow now.
Exactly.
Bow now. I'm like, yeah, that's a romp. That's not a bad taste at all.
But instead, she's just sitting there smoking her cigarettes, having a little drink like everybody else, and then Paul Giamatti's off to the side, like, seriously chugging away on any alcohol he can grab. And it's kind of funny. Like, his character is a little, I mean, he's super suitable for this character, right? But he's not phoning it in, like you said. It's not, that's not the
No, he's a lived-in character. He's not just Paul Giamatti doing a voice. He's a lived-in guy. He feels, I believed it all the way.
Yeah, and he's perfect for it.
I only single him out too because I don't know Divine Joy Randolph and Dominic Sessa from anything else. So, like, they're very good, but, like, I don't know them from anything. So, like, I know them as this now, kind of thing. Where Paul Giamatti,
I saw her in
a million roles.
Exactly, I saw her in Only Murders in the Building, where she plays a very different character, but it's a very small, even smaller character than what she is playing here. The character that Paul character that Paul is playing, I don't know. I mean, there are a couple things that I read about it, and they're like, he's a lovelorn, this, that, or the other. And I'm like, I don't really feel like that's the case at all. Like, he just doesn't make the effort to get out of his own way. Like he's odd enough where if he can't get along with anybody, I get this comes to the problem where I think people are more self-aware than they probably are. And if he's not self-aware to realize that he's not fitting anywhere, doesn't that tell you something? Like something about you?
About I gotta back up here. So what is your problem with Paul? What is your, is it the start over with Paul?
Is that
I'm not getting what you're not getting with Paul.
I don't know. I don't want him to just be this curmudgeon character who I don't know how to explain it. It's like he comes into a room, nobody likes him immediately at all. Even if it's like, even if it were, everything about him does not create a sense of like
safety,
belonging, or feeling.
Sure.
And it only becomes worse when you realize that he's like that asshole teacher, because everybody's had one, that, you know, just likes to be an asshole for no reason. And I'm not saying these kids deserve, you know, A's or whatever. And he's mad at the system, and that's why he's giving them these terrible grades. He's mad at the fact that these kids are going to come here, and no matter what they do, they're going to Brown or they're going to Harvard or whatever. And he even says things like that.
There's no consequences for them being shitty all the time. So why it's frustrating. Why even?
So he's also shitty. Is that the way you deal with it?
Well, because it hasn't gotten him anywhere to be. He feels like he's been wronged enough where it's not paying off to do the right thing. So I will turn my back and be. You think I'm this mean gargoyle? Well, then I'll be the mean gargoyle you think I am. And that's what he's done. That's what the poor guy's done.
I know, but how does that get you anywhere? I mean, he's in his office with his typewriter and, you know, his desk blotter and all the things. That's the first thing is I didn't know this movie took place in 1970, and he's sitting in his office and I'm like, oh, he's so old school. And then I'm like, wait a minute.
You know, he's appropriate school.
I
mean, he's a little older school than then. I think they make it a point to make him see even unhip for that time. Like even like he's even going back to like further back, you know.
Right. I don't know. It's fine, but I don't think I think they were trying to make the boy's character, Tully, you know, be as, I don't know, not unlikable, but not fitting in just like him. And that's not the story at all. Like, Tully's going to be fine.
His character, like, I didn't get, that's why I was confused at the beginning. Like, there's the intro scene to our main character. He's making fun of that other rich kid who's also an asshole. But I don't realize in that scene who our main character is going to be. Like, I'm like, after that interaction, I'm supposed to have an indication on who's like, not necessarily whose side I'm supposed to be on, but like whose point of view am I empathizing with from the start? Mm-hmm. And then what will I learn from that? And it's not until he's completely by himself. I kind of figure it becomes him once we're the five boys. And even still, I think, oh, maybe it's the other rich kid asshole who goes to the ski trip thing, who's like a little scaredy cat boy. But
I figured it out when everybody else in the class, like the highest grade was a D-, and then he got like a B+ or something like that. Everybody else was literally failing the class. And this kid was the only one that was passing before they got the extra, you know, work out of it. Also, ancient civilizations.
I didn't quite hit that detail, but that makes more sense.
Well, before that, though, the kids are all together, and I couldn't either. I thought it was going to be flippy-haired kid, the one who was really annoying.
Yeah, Disney Channel original kid, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They say I do say like
Cole Sprouse.
Yeah, he's a Sprouse, and I like some of the dial, like the writing is very good in here. Like I wrote down the one kid's all the time. Oh, this is the most bullshit ever. It's like it's kind of Napoleon Dynamite kind of like, not quite how a person said. A person would say like this is bullshit, or like, oh, it's bullshit. This is the most bullshit ever. It's so like frustrating setting. And then I like Paul Giamatti's. He's got some good horrible things he says. My favorite is ancient unspeakable proteins when he's talking about the stuff under the desks.
Yes, that they have to clean.
That's the thing is, I could just listen. Paul Giamatti may be a horrible curmudgeon guy, but you hear when he's sitting alone with the Mary that he could be a charming man if he wants to be, if he just opens up and is vulnerable a little bit, and that's what he has to learn. He has taken 60 years to even get there because he smells weird too. No one likes him. He has he smells weird and his
Everything
eyes weird.
About it.
He gets thrown out of Harvard. He tried so hard and everyone said, no, you're a gross weirdo. No one likes you. And so he's like, okay, I guess I am.
Well, and then he explains it all. Everything gets explained away, sort of like, this is not anything I can help, which I think doesn't help his case, honestly. Like, okay, he can't help that he has the wonky eye. He can't help that he smells like, I forget what he smells like, bad onions or something. I forget. He can't help that whatever happened at Harvard happened until he punched the person out.
And hit him with the car.
He can help how he... Yeah, exactly. And then hit him. He can help how he behaves otherwise. He's chosen this life for himself. And then they bring that woman in who works there and she throws the party. And I'm like, oh my God, if they set this up as a romance, I'm not gonna like this at all.
Well, they do the tease, and then there's like, oh, but she's a regular person. She would never want me. I'm just creepy Paul Giamatti man, and so but I take note, like in one of my favorite scenes is the champagne of beers scene, because it's when the kid and the adult get to be like sparring, and he gets to see the potential of him as an equal, but he knows he's still a kid, so he still has the little kid slip up things, and he's like, oh, you got a lot to learn still, kind of thing. Almost gets in the fight, and then they get to the wraparound joke, and we get to involve the waitress, and I noticed in that scene, I was like, oh, she's kind of a total dork too. It was like it's like Holly in Michael Scott in The Office. Yeah. That's what I thought of. Where it's like, oh, like I hear you're like, oh, I don't want it to be a romance. I know you don't like. Nicole doesn't like romances either. You guys don't like romances, especially when the guy's a schlub. Schlubby guys, no romance. But like, she's a dorky girl. She's dorky. And they she's not though.
That. She's regular. She's very regular looking and dresses normal, and she looks. But she can polite.
Just because they're both one. Just because they have a looks disparity doesn't mean that can't be together. That's so Hunchback of Notre Dame thinking. Like, Quasimodo can't find Esmeralda. Why not? That's not nice.
Well. Because in a movie, I'm glad they didn't do that in this movie, because if they did, it would have made me mad, because it never works the other way. It's never the other way.
Well, they should make it. I mean, I think they should make.
I know, but they don't, and that's
because
therein lies. I mean, it's a total personal situation for I realize that when I'm looking at it through jaded eyes or whatever, but.
You guys both said that the other day in Elemental. You guys, both. It's funny. You both and Nicole were like, "Oh, she has such an unrealistic body." I'm just like, I didn't even think of that one time watching this. I'm like, I didn't think about her body at all. She's a cartoon character. I didn't think about it. I was thinking about different elements of the.
That's because girls. I mean, I don't want to even say women, but girls are taught from the very beginning that is actually your biggest self-worth. I mean, all you have to do is look at TikTok to know that. All you have to do is look at, know how many people are making a shit ton of money on OnlyFans to know that. So, I mean, that's really, anybody else is going to have to work twice as hard. So it's not like that for guys. I mean, I'm not saying that good looking guys maybe don't have a leg up, but I mean, the Paul Giamatti character, okay.
Oh, it's clearly not working out for him, I think I would say it's hard for him too. I mean, isn't it okay to have
but he's not just a regular guy. He's not like who would be a regular guy? Like, oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. His name is Jason somebody. Jason Segel. Like,
I know Jason Segel. But Jason
Segel could live in my neighborhood. Like, he's just regular dude, or I mean, I don't want to go down
guy, I would say, and he's
I don't think he's above average looking. Oh, yeah, not above average looking. He's got such weird lips.
I think it's just conventional attractionist. Like, people like different stuff. Just because someone's conventionally attracted, these hang-ups, I don't understand. There's a different.
Yeah, but somebody who looked regular, a girl that would look like, I don't want to say a girl looking like Jason Segel, because that ain't fair, but a girl that looks like. I consider Jason Segel to be like a a 55 out of 100, right? So if a girl was a 55 out of 100, she wouldn't stand a chance.
Who's as good looking of a known person as Jason Segel in your mind? So I can just understand what you think.
What do you mean?
Who's a
somebody
famous?
I know?
No, it's just a famous person. Who's a Jason Segel of women quality of looks?
Oh, of women.
Yes.
It's hard because there really aren't.
What do you consider Rachel
like
Dratch? What do you consider her?
I mean, maybe, yeah, probably something like that.
Okay, so I think you thinking Rachel Dratch and Jason Segel are even comparable. I think that's not what most people would say, in my opinion. I have different tastes as well, but I would just think people would see that. Not...
Beanie Feldman.
Yeah, Feldstein. That's not bad, but I also think Beanie Feldstein's very attractive. So I don't know. Anyway,
but even then, yeah. Okay, so anyway,
well, yeah. I don't know what your point of Paul Giamatti can't have love because he's an ugly man, and ugly women don't have love. So Paul Giamatti.
I'm glad they didn't make a romance out of it because for me it would be another point of contention, which it already is, even though they didn't do it and we talked a lot about it. So yeah,
I liked
disappointing
when he broke the arm and then he covered for him. That was good. That was the first and the running through the school kind of thing, like gotta catch me. I'm like. I guess it was
a little weird.
It was very strange, but now I want to almost give Dead Poets Society more of a pass because I'm like, were they just so bored back then that was like a cool, fun thing to do, chase each other through the hallways? Because I guess what else did you gonna like? They really didn't have anything, I guess. Like we think of all the fun random crap like you could do any day of any second of any week for a reasonable price and distance for most people in the world and. Back then, they were just like, ooh, we're stuck in a boarding school. Run through the hall after me, Paul Giamatti, because we have our differences. Like, that's the best they could do. It's kind of...
Right. Or we'll make a secret club. That also is fun.
Yeah, I still...
Yeah, there was none of that. Well, and Paul Giamatti even admitted to Mary, like, he's never seen television before. So it was like, who? What? Where? How is this possible?
Well, you see Paul Giamatti's room. His room is that, like... And it's what he had... his father said he was like a loser and he had no mother, and so he's just been sat in a room like that probably his whole life, that little cot, and that's all he's ever had. So
there's something kind of, there's something a little charming about that. There's something, and I don't know, maybe you don't feel like this at all, but there is still for me something a little charming about boarding school. Like it seems like such
romantic.
A little bit a romantic idea, but I know that the actualness of it is just usually a nightmare. And for somebody like me, it would be a nightmare. Like I wouldn't have the dad coming and picking me up in the helicopter and taking my friends away. You know what I mean?
No, it would not be the best. Like the best of boarding schools are still, they're not great, but at least you're getting whisked away on nice holidays. Like, I'm sure those kids' insides are all fucked up, but at least they get to go on the ski trip. So
yeah,
good to have your insides.
Well, we find out everybody has depression because they're all taking lithium or whatever. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, but whatever. It's like, okay, maybe there's a problem with boarding school.
I mean, I'm watching this. I'm like, no one seems happy or healthy anywhere around this. Like anywhere, like no one working there seems to like it, and everyone who's working there who's even remotely moderately happy is doing like illegal bad things. So like, I don't know. This isn't really the best place in the world. I don't think. Like this is not the best
right.
The best system. But
well, and I have to say that the way that the only time I felt really kind of bad for Paul is when he admitted that the headmaster that he now had, who's now his boss, used to be his student. And I'm like, that's the thing, man. I would have moved to another damn school. I would have been like, absolutely not. I have too much pride to come back here and work for one of my students.
That's too weird. I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm like, it'll be weird. I haven't had it yet, but it'll be weird when I have my first boss who's younger than me. Cause like, it hasn't happened yet. I'm assuming it will one day happen. I guess it could maybe never, but you never know. Like it's not impossible, but like especially if they're way younger. Like if you're like 60 and your boss is like 35, and you're like, I don't know how that. I don't know. I've never had to even think about what kind of things that does to your mind. But I was going to say, speaking
your self-worth.
Speaking of doing things to your mind and self-worth, what did you think of his confrontation with his old classmate on the steps, where he's fumbling for any lie to make him not sound like a loser, and then the guy his nephew is like, oh yeah, I'll be your nephew and whatever. Like, very sad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't that was the charming,
I'll keep an eye out for your book.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems pretty sly. Pretty sly there.
Keep an eye out for your book. I thought at the beginning that the guy he ran into, his classmate, was genuinely like happy to see him. Like, I thought you would be dead.
I actually did think that too at first, until he said to keep an eye, and then I thought, oh, maybe he was just being glib that whole time. But at first, I did think that, and then maybe I'm reading too much into it, and that's the point. But like, I at first I was like, he was like, oh, it sounds like he's doing okay with his life, and he's literally just like, I'm glad you're doing okay, buddy, kind of thing. Like,
yeah, I'm glad that you recovered.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, what did he recover from? So
yeah, that's
when we find out.
Promising young woman.
It's not that. Yeah, I mean, I guess back then it was. I mean, you can't go around hitting people with cars, but you really couldn't do it at Harvard.
Did you peep the candlestick bowling?
Yes.
For those,
your dad yelled out candlestick bowling. He yelled out little ball bowling.
Little ball, that's right, that's what we called it, little ball bowling. I wonder how many people were watching and were like, ooh, I wonder what that old-timey bowling is. Not realizing that is still a thing that is very popular in New England, where you have a ball, not a bowling ball you stick your fingers in. The ball is the size of,
shot put.
A chocolate? That's not...
A shot put.
Oh, shot put. I misheard. I thought you said chocolate. I'm like, that is the craziest descriptor ever. It's the size of chocolate. No, size of a shot put ball, yeah, and then the sticks are the candlesticks are the pins are like,
and it's really hard.
It is more difficult.
Infinitely
to get
harder than big ball bowling.
They do three balls of frame though, right? Like but it's also I feel like is there still strike and spare carryover, or is it just frames?
There is strike and spare carryover, but not on the third.
Oh, but
ball.
On the third, you can get like a 10, like just a clean
if you
10.
get all of them down, it's yeah. It was very difficult to grasp this. And then when it was like living here in New England, where there's only like one big ball bowling place and every other place is little ball bowling. And I'm like, what is, this is weird. And I grew up in a bowling family.
That's right. Yeah, like regular bowling. So very different.
Yeah.
We circle back to, what is it? I wish we spent a little more time with Mary's character and stuff. Like, she kind of gets front loaded a little bit, and then the ending third becomes about, because the end is Paul Giamatti has to stick up for the kid because he went and saw his dad and he's not supposed to. The guy in the institution. So Paul Giamatti sticks up for him to stay in the school and fights for him basically, and at the cost of his own job. So returns the broken arm favor from earlier. And he gets to move on and try and do something. He had to make a change, and he's doing something. So in a direction he heads, maybe it'll be better. But that firm handshake, it warmed my heart. It really did. It gave me the feeling I wanted. It gave me after a 2-hour journey with these characters, who I slowly grew to like and enjoy more as the movie went on. The firm handshake sealed the deal that I was taken care of. Very much enjoyed my time.
I think you need to go back and watch Dead Poets Society again.
I
think that there is a lot of depression in boarding schools in general.
Well, I mean, you got people who are, either by choice or mentally okay with being separate from their young children for long periods of time. That's got to have a genetic carryover, an impact on the psyche, and then you got to have the people who take care of those people, and they got to see that all the time.
Yeah.
So it's a breeding ground for a lot of loneliness, I'm sure.
Animosity.
Yeah. Hopefully they all realize they're all just doing their best, and
That's right.
I hope
everyone's just doing their best.
Not everybody. I mean, the problem is sometimes people's bests are in counteraction to your own bests, and that's when you have to. Those are difficult ones, but that's it for another time. Do we recommend?
That's a different movie.
Do we recommend The Holdovers? Okay, it sounds like you've been saying yes, but a lot.
Yeah, I recommend it. I think it's I think it's a good ride. I think it's well written. I think it's very well acted. I'd like to see, I mean, we keep talking about Oscar movies and there are things that other people like that I seem to not like, but this I think deserves some
original
some
screenplay, probably, right? Like this seems like a kind of a shoe-in for screenplay.
I feel like maybe Paul Giamatti might get a nod. So
any supporting for our other two?
Maybe. Apparently this is the young kid's first foray into, acting. And so I thought he was
good. I mean, again, I don't know him from
good,
anything
yeah,
else, but I believed him at all this, and he has to be a tough character to play, so.
Yeah, I believed him, and I didn't find that there was any times where he was like, where he would slip enough where I wouldn't see, the character. There are people talking about, this is really good, but it's not going to become a Christmas film favorite. And I'm like, this is not a Christmas film.
Oh my God. I was just thinking about how I would love to make this a Christmas film favorite. Like I was thinking about what are my favorite Christmas movies. I'm like, I really like this. Like, I'm like, this is so exactly, it's so melancholy. And by the end, it's hopeful. It's like exactly what I like. It's what.
Yeah, but you have to go through a lot to get there, and at Christmas time, I don't know that's what you want to do.
Good at the end. It feels so good. The tears at the tears at the end are like they're so warm. I recommend this wholeheartedly. Though I was a little disappointed you're as low and there's no one else for me to be on here being like, wow, what a great movie. Like I was in my top 10 right now for the year. I loved it. So
Nope. Sorry, I wasn't as high on it. I wasn't low on it. I liked it.
No, you weren't low on it. There was your points of contention were not anything anything I couldn't really understand, I suppose. But two recommends of varying degrees for the Holdovers. And you didn't look at the schedule.
Holdovers.
Oh, but I know Saltburn's coming because that's Emerald Fennell. Speaking of Promising Young Woman, Emerald Fennell's newest movie. So whoever is going to see that with me, it's going to be very exciting. And Nicolas Cage has a new movie where he's invading all of your dreams. So I'm very excited about that. What's called?
You're going to get Jess to do that.
It's not a horror movie. It's like a Charlie Kaufman invading your dreams, not like a Freddy Krueger invading your dreams.
I don't need anyone invading my dreams.
You are going to really want Nicolas Cage to be in your head when you go and
I'm not.
You're going to want it. It's what is the name of the film? Dream Scenario. So,
oh boy,
very excited about Dream Scenario, and other things coming down the pike. If you have things to recommend to us, Films with the Women in My Life on Facebook. Reach out to me on Instagram. I'm Brennan_podhost, and you can email the show filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. All right, thank you for being on Mama K for the Holdovers.
Entre nous.
Did they say that? Did I miss that?
Several times.
Oh, I'm the worst. I memorized the champagne of beers so much.
Just between us. That's just between us.
Oh, yes, that's okay. I'm back on board. All right. Well, until next time, this is Brennan signing off, saying thanks for listening and enjoy your movies.
Thanks for listening to Films with the Women in My Life. If you enjoyed being a listener in our life, please rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on your favorite podcast app. Keep up with the latest from the show on Instagram at Brennan_podhost, on Facebook at Films with the Women in My Life, and on Twitter at FilmsWomenPod. Finally, you can email the show with questions and suggestions at filmswiththewomen@gmail.com. Original music for the show was created by Ian Burke and Chris Iwanek. Original artwork created by Nicole D'Alessio. This show is produced by Brennan Snyder. Thank you again for listening and enjoy your movies.